Jai Ram, Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Lakshmi Nrsimha. So today I am going to explain the sternum, its different parts and its uses in anatomy. So we are seeing the bone series now, and in that the sternum is a very important bone. It is the attachment for various ribs, and some ribs are connected to it, some ribs are floating. Some ribs are typical and atypical, and there are various types of ribs. I should make another video on each rib separately. And the sternum is a very important bone. It is having a lot of changes whenever you have vitamin D. So whenever you have vitamin D deficiency and calcium deficiency, the sternum bone shows up. And we will see the sternum, the prosternum, the mesosternum, and the manubrium. So, and the xiphoid process. So let us see all of these parts of the sternum bone. So this is a sternum, and you can see the different parts of the sternum in this. So it is somewhat very irregular type of a bone. It is somewhat quadrangular, but at the same time a little bit triangular at the corner. So let me show you this bone clearly. Here is how the bone looks, and you have a small notch in the top part. It's called the jugular notch in the superior portion. This bone has two surfaces and four borders. You have the superior border, two lateral borders, and the inferior border, which ends with the xiphoid process. It is made into three parts: the manubrium, the upper portion, and next the body of the sternum or the prosternum, and the lower part, a small process. It's called the xiphoid process. So basically it's three bones fused together, and we have the sternal angle right over here. So this is called the sternal angle. I should explain this. It's very important to understand because the sternum is connected to various organs and tissues behind, and ligaments, etc., which are very important in anatomy. So it's very important to understand the sternal angle. And here we have various notches. They are for costal cartilages, and we have the jugular notch over here. Each notch is for a particular costal cartilage. We have 12 costal cartilages, and they are all connected to ribs. Whether connected to the sternum or not, the ribs are connected to costal cartilages, which act as middlemen in connection to the sternum. So here we have the 7th costal cartilage and the xiphoid process down here. And first let's see the manubrium. So manubrium is the upper portion. It's somewhat quadrangular, and it is roughly quadrangular in shape, not exactly quadrangular. It has some extension in some place, and I am not properly detailed in the picture, but this is its rough look. And this is the upper part of the sternum, and it is just opposite to T3 and T4, or thoracic vertebrae 3 and thoracic vertebrae 4. So we have the thoracic vertebrae just behind it, like this, and we have the sternum in the front. The manubrium is in front of T3 and T4, whereas the prosternum is in front of T5 to T9, and the xiphoid process is just separated by the diaphragm to connect to the liver, the left lobe of the anterior surface of the liver. So let us see the manubrium now. The manubrium has four borders and two surfaces. Let's explain these. So the superior border of the manubrium has a clavicular notch over here. So the clavicle, I'm making a video on that bone also. The clavicle has a connection to the sternum here, which makes the it's called the manubrio-clavicular joint or the sternoclavicular joint, and that happens here because there's a notch over here for the connection. The jugular or suprasternal notch is present over here. So suprasternal, in the sense, it means a notch at the superior portion of the sternum bone. So this is the suprasternal area, and this is the manubrium. And now we shall see the inferior border. This connects to the this connects to the mesosternum or the body of the sternum. Here, this point is a very important point. This is the same point which is called the angle of Lewis, or the sternal angle, and it is 140 degrees. Here they are again so this inferior border is the most important border. I shall explain this border as the angle of Lewis in the next few minutes. And here is the outlook of the manubrium. Now it has two lateral borders, or borders on both sides. Here we have one costal cartilage, articulation with the costal cartilage. Here on the other side, on the other lateral border, we have another costal cartilage articulation facet. Here we have a demicostal facet. Basically, a complete facet for articulation is called a full costal facet, and a half facet, somewhat broken type, is called a demicostal facet. So for the articulation with second costal cartilage, we have demicostal facet, and for the first one, we have a complete costal cartilage articulation area. Now we shall see that the two lateral borders are also equally important because we have connections to the ribs at the same area. And here we are going to see that the ribs are attached to the sternum. This is a very important thing, and that's why the sternum is a very important bone. It has two surfaces, anterior and posterior. Let us discuss these two surfaces now. The upper half of the posterior, so the anterior is quite flat and the posterior surface is a little bit concave. So let's understand this. And the upper half of the posterior surface has many important relations. The brachiocephalic artery is one of them. So it's a very important artery that comes from the brain and connects to the not from the brain, from the heart, and goes throughout the head and also connects to the lung. The left common carotid artery on the upper half, the left subclavian artery, and the left brachiocephalic vein. So these are the important relations of the upper half of the posterior surface of the manubrium. Now the lower half is connected to the arc of aorta. So you have the aorta in the heart. So the lower so the arc of it is the same area over here. So we will study the angle of Lewis in the next few minutes. That will make this point clear. And the lateral part is connected to the lung and the pleura behind. So pleura is the small blanket type of sheet that holds the lung in it. Holds both of the lungs in it. And that is also touching the manubrium at this level, lateral half. And next we are going to see the next portion, that is the body of the sternum, or it's called the mesosternum. And the mesosternum is present at the thoracic vertebrae 5 to 9 level. So we have the first three thoracic vertebrae coming to here, and the rest of them 5 to 9 come over here, and that is corresponding to the body of the sternum or mesosternum. Mesosternum is twice as long as the manubrium. So we saw the manubrium over here. The mesosternum is just double of it, almost double. And the mesosternum, just like we have vertebrae in the vertebral column, we have sternebrae in the sternal area. That's called sternal segments. And this part of the sternum, the mesosternum, is widest at the fifth costal cartilage area. That is somewhere around here. So it's widest in this portion. And this area also has two borders and two borders, two ends, and two surfaces. So how two borders? Two borders are only the lateral borders, and two ends. Ends in a sense an area which connects. It's not a border. So an area which connects with the manubrium. It is fused, but classification is as a separate branch. So we have upper, inferior ends, and we have two surfaces, anterior and posterior. So let's explain this now. Now we have the borders, ends, and surfaces. The ends, the upper end is articulating with the lower end of manubrium sternum. You can see this here. So this is the upper end of the mesosternum. It articulates with the lower end of the manubrium or the prosternum. And we have the lower end. Lower end articulates with the xiphisternum or the xiphoid process and forms the, it's called the xiphisternal joint over here. This is a small process, what you can see. I have marked it in orange color. And these are the two borders, the lateral border 1 and 2. The two borders over here. They have segments for articulation with costal cartilages. And next we have the mesosternum. This is the mesosternum. This is how it looks. So from the 3rd to 6th level, we have full. So basically the articulation begins from the 3rd level. So the manubrium articulates with 1st and 2nd costal cartilages, whereas the mesosternum articulates with 3rd to 6th. And the 2nd and the 7th have demicostal facets, whereas the 3rd to 6th have full costal facets for articulation with costal cartilage. And here is the anterior and posterior surface. The anterior surface is flat and the posterior surface is somewhat concave. And the posterior surface has many important relations. It is a pleura. So the anterior border of the right lung is on the right side. So let's see the right side so this is the right side of the sternum. So now we should see the posterior important relations of the sternum. The body of the sternum is called the mesosternum, and the right side of the mesosternum is related to the right pleura, the anterior border of the right lung. So pleura is the back of the lung, and the right side of the lung, the right lung, and its pleura, the anterior border of this of the lung, is related to the right side of the mesosternum. The left side lower part of the mesosternum is related to the pericardium, heart, and the left side lower part is related to the pericardium and the heart, whereas the left side upper part is related to the pleura and left lung. So this is the position, posterior position, and the posterior surface is little bit concave, whereas the anterior one is flat. Now we shall see the xiphoid process. The xiphoid process is connected to the left lobe of the liver. So left lobe is directly behind it, just separated by a thin line of diaphragm. We know about the diaphragm. It's a muscular sheath that helps in respiratory system. So that just separates the xiphoid process from the left lobe of the liver, and this is called the xiphi-sternum. And also along with this, we have the xiphoid process just touching it. It is triangular in shape and it has a tip or apex, and its superior border is called the xiphi-sternal joint over here. You can see this here. This is the xiphoid process. It has a tip or apex, and its superior border is called the xiphi-sternal joint, and it's very important as it is connected to the anterior border of the left lobe of the liver, separated by a muscular sheath of diaphragm. So now we shall see the anatomical importance of the sternum. Can you move back up here? There are two major diseases of the sternum. It's called funnel chest or pigeon. It's called the funnel chest, and in that, it's the center of the sternum, the mesosternum, is depressed, and the manubrium and the xiphoid